There you go, we're on. First thing, Callum, you got to tell her before you intro anything. You got to talk about like where you are today. That's the nicest spot.
Well, this is the new place. I have. It's only a few miles down the road from the current place, but it's really good. I've got a nice sea view. Look in the background. There's like a little cafe. I go over lunch every day and that. So it's like something's like a seagull flies in. So it's nice here. Like.
Hey, I love the way your race car sponsors are kind of supporting you. They kind of like you must be flipping a few cars and stuff. That's doing great. Like,
oh, it's nice. Yeah, this homework and it's working out all right. Like in this place like this, and then it's you can't complain.
Hey, honestly, if it looks that good, we're all coming. We're working from your gaff.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be having a holiday booked. I'll be dialing in from Australia next week. I'll be on the beach.
I like it.
Mm-hmm. No, but anyway, we're going to be talking about emergent trends in manufacturing and how that ties into the power of ROI in a business as well today. So what's new in manufacturing? What's upcoming? How do we think the future's grow and how a manufacturer is progressing? And that's all about our product and how we try to help people and analyze future trends and try and make future predictions for how we can help them. And ultimately, we like to do ROI calculations with our customers as well, because that shows them how what real value they get out of us and how they can then distribute that within their business. And suddenly they've got loads more cash to play with that they're not wasting, they're not throwing away that they have been before in the past. And how we, isn't it? We aim for when we talk to customers around a 5 or a 10x multiple. And ultimately we're already cheaper than our competitors. Where our business model is low cost digitization to therefore make it accessible to manufacturers, and as part of that we bring businesses a very, very appetizing ROI multiple.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We're going through some deeper analysis on that, because starting to benchmark and see where we are in relation to the existing or the traditional market, as we've probably called it, and seeing how far away we are, which means it's just more value for the customer ultimately. You know, we have our margins and we have our overheads to manage, but I think because we don't have all that capital up front for a customer on discovery and engineering work and physical work and devices, and then solutionizing, it just makes us exactly what you say. It's accessible. And gets manufacturers what they want in a different way.
No, definitely. And then looking at emerging trends, obviously the manufacturing industry right now is transforming more rapidly than it ever have done. If you think back maybe 40, 50 years ago, through kind of the Industrial Revolution era, when Mitch was kind of my age. He's actually 70 now. That's why he's got glasses on. Like, you can see some teeth missing there.
Yeah, he's got wooden teeth. But yeah, I think I get what you're going for. It's definitely saying you think how industry changed from like 40, 50 years ago. Yeah. And what the next 10 years look like and what's driving that change.
20 years ago, people had a Nokia, didn't they? Now we've got iPhone 15s that do slow-mo videos and AI. You can talk to Siri, and it's great. I can literally shout out, "Hey Alexa," but I don't want to find it.
No, don't do that now. Yeah.
Alexa will be on the podcast next. But then it's you can just literally talk to your technology now. Whereas like 30 years ago, even it was like metal hammers and wheels and like bashing things with rocks. Still just about it.
That's it. Lot of manual processes. I think that's it. You know, I can look at some of the things did in the armaments factory, and I got to see the old armaments factory before they knocked it down, and that still had in 2008. It still had a lot of the infrastructure across the top of the factory where lathes and different machines were belt driven, and it was still kind of being used, like you say, 50 years ago. Isn't that long ago? And this stuff was still serviceable. It was still doing a job, as recently as like 20 years ago. And now you look at the technology, you look at what's coming on with artificial intelligence, you look at what's coming on in terms of personal devices, and the early adopters who maybe are able to allocate nice budgets and really come around that and take things early or steal in a march, but it's only because they've built over previous years the capability to do that. You've got the laggards, you've got the guys coming in behind that who are picking up the second wave once they've validated and know that something's working. And I think that's where it puts us sort of in between those times in terms of the product's working again and again and again. And I think it's now about how we show our tools and our capabilities to the market and to the users that are going to benefit from all of these technological advances that we're just continuing to build in, knowing that they do that core job first. But there's a whole host still to come. So manufacturing is going to change in the next 10 years dramatically again. I think there's the next industrial revolutions, or you've got Industry 5.0 now, and connected technologies, and it does a job. But I think you've also got our kind of work, which is connected worker, and the insights that we can leverage with AI and with just our existing visual management systems, without really developing things too far. It's just good practice stuff that makes visible data really work and allow managers and engineers and support workers in factories do their jobs. And again, it's at an accessible price point. So it's our sort of vision that we keep doing that, and that we'll have that part to play, that role to play in the kind of marketplace, empowering workers.
I mean, something which people didn't even know existed maybe 15, 20 years ago, maybe even as recent as that, is the likes of sustainability and the environment and carbon emissions, isn't it? And you hear more and more businesses now saying we're going carbon net zero by 2030, 2032, 2035, whatever date they set themselves. It's most vehicle manufacturers now are net zero 2030. I think it's a regulation in a lot of countries now that all vehicle emissions, whether even if they're a hybrid vehicle, must be a carbon net zero vehicle by 2030. There's laws in place for a lot of that now for emissions related. And that's as the world's developing, as we as a human race are developing, we're outputting more emissions because there's more of us than there was 30 years ago. There's twice as many people on the planet now, isn't there? And the year 2025, in the previous 1,950 years, we've grown twice as big in 50 years than we have in the last 1,900 years. It's incredible to think that, isn't it?
It's huge. It's huge, and I think that's where you're seeing things being legislated. Ultimately you say that's becoming mandatory, and I think certain businesses, it's kind of, if you've got 200 employees and a certain person, and they'll drop and it'll come in, that you've it's almost save the human race stuff, but it's it's being mandated because it's necessary. And is all of the world playing its part in that? No, but do the leaders have to start? Do they have to get started? Do they have to make people think of these things? Or can you make a production right first time? Can you choose sustainable materials rather than non-sustainable materials?
Material advancement, innovation, and material science is a big thing now, isn't it? And it's how you can prototype things faster, how you can customize your materials, so you've got less wastage, how you can optimize your logisticals, so you can get materials to and from places, from your suppliers to yourself, to your end customer, far faster than ever before. Low cost effective production of raw material is a big ticket item right now.
It's again, it's that, I suppose we come around that. Just our thinking is how can we use data and make data available so that helps the decisions that are in there. As a lot of those decisions might be made off the hip, especially when they're pressurized. It might be, we need to do something, and I'm suddenly winding back the clock. I'm thinking of those kind of conversations that I've had in factories when somebody says we've got to do something, so do something. Not do the right thing, not go off and do the right thing because they don't know what that is, but the data is potentially not being available. And I think it's a much better place if people are saying, well, we can see certain legislation, certain rules coming in that affects our thinking, and we've got the data that tells us how we're performing against those regulations are against what's being mandated, and now we're able to make the right choices for us. That's something that I think we can again play into as a business, as a team, and ensure that we're supporting industry in that way. But it's becoming hard for all manufacturers working with that, because not all manufacturers are going to see that they need data to drive at those things, and there'll be more of those decisions off the hip, and I just hope they end up being the right ones. Eventually they will, but if it takes a long time to get there, it costs a lot of money, and it takes a lot of effort if you haven't got the right data around you.
And then obviously the next stage is how can businesses prepare? We can discuss this, and all businesses and manufacturing businesses who are close to our hearts can think about what's upcoming, what are the things happening in the future. But then it's how do you prepare for that once you've identified these things that you think are going to happen. It's like we were just talking about. It's the staff, it's the sustainability. Do you need to adjust your business model so it's a more agile model? Do you need a more low cost, more efficient business model? Do you need different staff? Do you need to develop your current staff? How do you prioritize your sustainability so you can achieve those carbon net zero regulations that your business must operate under now, because suddenly the government puts those regulations in place, and unless you meet those, you're not allowed to be a business anymore. That's it. And manufacturers that embrace these trends and strategies will obviously be far more well positioned ahead of their competitors than the likes of the people that don't. They'll be the people that thrive in this modern era, won't they?
For sure, and I think even just you're right on every single point there. I think just the one to add is how that'll feel. You know, if you haven't moved, if you haven't got a hold of things, you're going to feel under pressure. You're going to feel like you're permanently being audited. You're going to be challenged, and ultimately your costs are going to be put up. And you then go screaming into the marketplace saying, what can we find? How can we solutionize? Who can help us? It's much better to kind of walk up to it and start looking early and saying, let's examine what's going on.
In your preparation stages ultimately tie into your ROI, don't they? Because it's then at that stage, it's what investments do we have to make in our business to better position our business to fall in line and with these all these new trends, and ensure that we remain competitive in our marketplace. So we've got to invest money in maybe new systems such as SQCDP or new hardware or new staff. And then how do we get a return on our investment if we've got to go out and spend 10 million quid upscaling our business so that we so that we're ready for this new digitization era? It's what do we get for that? From 10 million quid, do we get a £500,000 payback over the next 15 years, or after year one does it suddenly jump up to £2 million a year payback? And it's making those calculations effectively with your staff internally, but with your external and third party suppliers, such as your system suppliers, like what we do with our customers. And it's very, very critical to do that, to make sure you get it right at the first stage.
Yeah, I think when it allows you to compare apples with apples is almost the metaphor I would use, in that you can use smart factory solutions to get you the data you need to drive your business's efficiency, and apply hardware to it. And that's great. It does its job. It's just high capital. So you're going to make high investments out initially, a big punt, a big commitment, and then you'll be trying to claw back those justifications to say, are we achieving our return on investment? Are we delivering? Is the system solution, are we changing quickly enough? And we're at the other side of that, saying we're very accessible. We're at a great price point in relation to that. From just we just don't have that capital up front. And again, it's remarkable what we're doing and seeing with our early customers is that they don't have that challenge. But in the comparison, it allows people to make decisions that, let's get going, let's move, let's not, it's high cost, we'll wait. I think what's happening is the pressure has been put on manufacturers, all businesses. You've got to move now, and I think that's what the governments are doing. They're saying you've got to become more environmentally sustainable. You've got to have good governance in place. You've got to make the right decisions, and they're making businesses do that. And if we're an accessible solution that allows you to move pretty much risk-free, You know, there's time. There's a bit of time you put to it. But as soon as you start seeing the results, again, we're getting this answer in another way. Is where we place ourselves to make it available to people that just haven't got the capital. If you haven't got the capital, you are stuck. You are in a hard place. If you have got the capital, it's about where you deploy it, and eventually it catches up with you if that's all you can see. So let's keep presenting ourselves to the people that need a solution that lets them make the right decisions, and by that I mean the right decisions in their business about what they can achieve with their deliverables, their product price, the labor price, and kind of margins. Let's let them be successful and achieve all of these things that are driving change through the whole bloody industry. But yeah, the return on investment then just it's enormous in relation to a capital driven
change. Tool, isn't it? By having ROI, it's by leveraging ROI analysis, you can really navigate as a business your financial decisions. You can make those careful decisions and prepare effectively for sustainable growth and long-term profitability. Ultimately, as a business, you need to try and remain profitable, don't you? And for what specific investment decisions you need to consider and where you need to make those investments.
I think, when something's mandated, particularly when we look maybe to the UK, you go, this has been mandated across the UK, which means that business A, who has competitors B, C, D, and E, they're all being asked to move in the same way and become more efficient, become more sustainable, and comply. The ones who don't and costs are penalised and costs go up and don't change, that very quickly will be non-competitive. You know, and I've seen that in my career with two businesses where I work, where there were long contracts, they were always sustainable, always going to be repeatable, and the industry changed, the backdrop changed, and they couldn't place the work with us because we were at the wrong price point, or we didn't have the right environmental credentials. So there was a it's not right to call it political, but there was another reason. It wasn't just based on price. It was based on how we were working and what we were doing. And I think that's what supply chain it does more and more, and is being encouraged to ensure that everybody in their supply chain for their particular parts is working in the same way. So it's been made hard, and that's driving change, which is great. The downside of that is the ones that don't change get left behind, and that's difficult. And again, having been through that, you know, I've been made redundant twice. It's not something you wish on businesses and teams, and because that's families, that's then changes that people aren't choosing for themselves. So it's probably an emotional part of me saying, but you don't wish that on anybody. You want everybody to be competitive, be in that business spirit of things, and driving cost to the bottom line, and having high performing teams in their business doing the right thing.
No, we're up to about 17, 18 minutes there, so it's quite a long one. This, so I think it's good to try to get under that 20 minutes. We don't want people sitting listening to us for too long.